Our journey begins at Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. Here you can see the entrance fees to the park, and though they might seem high, believe me when I say it did not seem to deter any visitors, as all the campgrounds were full and traffic around the popular sites was very congested. We stayed at Grand Campground. Our site was an electrical site. Though the tiger can boondock weeks at a time, my son's Airstream, loaded with a family of 7, fares better with a little electricity. As we pulled into the check-in, we were greeted by my son and his family and their beagles. My son informed us that he had already checked us in and that we could drive directly to the campsite. The region is home to 2 tribes, the Assiniboine and the Gros-Ventre. The Assiniboine refer to themselves as Nakota, which means generous ones. The Gros-Ventre call themselves Ahane, which means white clay people. Gros-Ventre, which is French for big belly, is a misnomer that originated from a mistranslation of the gesture for Ahane in the Plains Sign Language. As we drive through, you will notice some Class A motorhomes, as there are some long sites. But some sites are very short, so if visiting, be sure you pick your site carefully. Here on the left is one of the comfort stations. Finding our site, we back in to begin our stay in the Grand Tetons. Later in the week, we are joined by my daughter and another one of my grandsons, and they roughed it in a tent. Our first day in the campground, we had this moose foraging through. We were all excited about seeing other large animals, but in our 8-day stay, this was our highlight. When we were at the Grand Tetons in the summer of 2021, it was during the forest fires in California and Canada. The beginning of the trip, the view to the Teton Range was fairly clear, but a few days later, and for the remainder of the trip, the smoke rolled in and dimmed our views of the Grand Tetons. To the north of Jackson Hole, Yellowstone National Park had been established in 1872. And by the close of the 19th century, conservationists wanted to expand the boundaries of that park to include at least the Teton Range. But for various reasons, This was opposed to by the superintendent of Yellowstone, Horace Albright, and by the residents of Jackson Hole. They were more in favor of establishing a new national park, and after congressional approval, President Calvin Coolidge signed the executive order establishing the 96,000-acre Grand Teton National Park on February 26, 1929. The family, waking up early, decided to take a hike around Phelps Lake in hopes of spotting wildlife as well as for the scenic views. And like all national parks, no matter how crowded they are, a few clicks down one of the lesser-known trails will bring surprises as well as peacefulness. Phelps Lake, with its glass-like surface, perfectly reflects the mountains above. Unable to locate big game, they did stumble across a grouse rummaging in the bushes. Jenny Lake, one of the most popular spots in the Tetons, was packed, and the parking extended miles down the road to the park. A hidden gem is a loop that one can take that parallels Jenny Lake. The view is through the trees, but one can still see the beauty of the lake and the mountains. This area was once part of a vibrant Mormon community. The barn in the video is considered the most photographed barn in the United States, and one can see why. The setting of meadow and mountain lends itself to creative inspiration. Coulter Bay is a one-stop. It has fuel, including diesel, to showers, a restaurant, and a store. At this venue, we see a Native American artist and a chance to purchase her creations. This stop along the side of the road, showing that great views do not only happen at turnouts, but wherever you find inspiration. A log structure is always a great find, but a church that has services just seems extra special. At the Teton Visitor Center, it has the usual historical information and displays, a place to answer questions, and a list of activities and prices. Our family chose horseback riding, and what better way to get that cowboy blood pumping than riding a horse in the mountains? And how crowded was the park? This crowded it. We took a trip into Jackson, Wyoming to do laundry and to go out to eat. While there, we saw another tiger, not a Malayan, but the smaller sibling, the Bengal. We dined at Liberty Burger, which had an old-time atmosphere. It had a vintage Coke dispenser, and while there, we took a group shot of the entire crew. Back at the park, we visited another log cabin church, which also held services. But this church had something special going on. This church, nestled in the plains between the mountains, is surrounded by beautiful views. But it's not the construction of the church, or the benches made from hewn logs, but the fact that the altar has a window which overlooks the Grand Tetons. From the same parking lot as the church, one can visit Miner's Storyboat and General Store. This is a short hike down a groomed trail. The river where the ferry operated, and at least to me the river seems fairly swift, which must have made ferrying a little tricky. Connecting Grand Teton to Yellowstone is the John D. Rockefeller Jr. Memorial Parkway. Entering Yellowstone, as if on cue, we are greeted by our national symbol, the bald eagle. Of course, the mainstay of Yellowstone is Old Faithful, and it does not disappoint.
Can you see it up in the air? How about that? Keep on looking, it's gonna go down.
I know, I see it.
That's the spot. Why is it so blood?
That's pretty awesome, huh?
After our day excursion into Yellowstone National Park, we returned to Grand Teton to a campfire and a night's sleep to continue on our journey exploring America. And as always, thank you for watching.